Welcome to Stop the Ride, a sober curious podcast for anyone whose relationship with drugs or alcohol has ever felt a little bit like a roller coaster. I'm your host, Drew Valentino. Sobriety can mean a number of things, so each week I sit down with a new guest to talk about why they decided to distance themselves from the drugs and the alcohol. So whether you are in recovery or just looking to make a few positive adjustments to your life, you are right where you need to be. And on this episode, I chat with Billy Lemon Walters, Executive Director of the Castro Country Club in San Francisco, about his story with GHB and crystal meth. Let's get into it. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. My name is Drew Valentino. I am currently in San Francisco, where today I have a very special guest, the Executive Director of the Castro Country Club, Billy Lemon.
Hi, Drew.
Hi.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited to share your story. Where are you from?
I grew up in the Central Valley, but I have been in San Francisco since roughly 1998.
Amazing. And how long have you been sober?
It is coming up on 12 years.
Wow, congrats. What was your drug or drugs of choice?
They were in tandem. I mean, to be clear, I was a garbage can. But if we're ranking them in the order of what I would go to first, if they were all laid out on a table, it would absolutely be crystal meth and then GHB, and they had to be together.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't
think I ever did them together. Oh, yes, I have. Never mind.
I didn't really like one without the other. It was a marriage. And the Holy Trinity at the time would have been crystal meth, GHB, and Viagra.
Oh, wow.
Probably 50 milligram Viagras. That was kind of the Holy Trinity for me. If I had to think back on.
Both of those drugs are very sexually charged.
They can be, yes.
Yeah. And did you do any type of traditional program?
By traditional program, you mean like inpatient rehab?
Any rehab,
I have gone to rehab. My current program is abstinence-based. It's 12-step, but I also went into rehab thinking that I was going to do harm reduction.
So if we were to start from the beginning, what would you say were your earliest experiences with drugs and alcohol?
So I think that it's super important to recognize I am older generationally than some of my peers, and so I'm 54. I grew up in the Central Valley here in California, which is it's literally 75 miles away, but it is literally 100 years in the past. It is very conservative, very small town, very farming. So the mindset is not progressive. It is not forward thinking. It was certainly not a place where drugs were very accessible or that I ever heard the word gay. So that kind of frames my story.
Right.
So 54, I grew up in Modesto. I'm the oldest of three. My parents, I like to say that they did the best they can. But if I'm brutally honest, and I've done a lot of step work around this, I think they just they were kind of checked out a lot of the time. We were classic 1980s latchkey kids, always home, unsupervised, without our parents, and so I kind of helped raise my sisters. I did pretty good in school. I would call myself like an extroverted introvert. I did that primarily because at the time I knew I was different. Again, 54. So I didn't know the word gay, and there were no TV shows or references to gay.
You're talking about even in like high school or?
Even in high school.
Wow.
Like I don't think I heard the word until college.
That's crazy.
And so I knew, I also grew up Catholic. That's kind of an important part of it also. And so I was pretty good through high school. I maybe went to some keg parties and some orchards. That's kind of what you do in the Central Valley. I was pretty gregarious, so I did well socially. It wasn't super hard for me to mask what was actually going on inside. Once I got to college, I didn't make the best choices. I decided to move further down the Central Valley coast, and I went to Fresno State. I immediately joined a fraternity and became a blackout drinker, like almost immediately.
Yeah.
In the dorms. In the dorms, I got introduced to weed, but I don't know how it is for most folks, but my gay ass did not like marijuana, and I really didn't like drinking all that much. It was not that great.
But yet you kept getting blacked out.
But I still kept on
Right.
being that guy in the dorms that was a
Totally.
blackout drinker and would wake up with throw up on himself, right?
Oh, yeah.
And smoked a lot of weed.
Despite not even liking it. That's what's so
Surprisingly, like I never
Yeah.
made a pass at any of my fraternity brothers,
Mhm.
which is super surprising because, like, let me frame this. Like, Fresno State is a very athletic school. So my fraternity was like this big, really big house. We had a gigantic shower. I'm sure, given your professional expertise, you can understand what I'm trying to frame.
I
here.
can.
Yeah. So we had
an expert.
we had
Overqualified.
a 20-man shower.
Okay, that sounds gay.
Framed with royal blue tiles with our letters in there. And as a freshman who was super, super gay and super closeted, didn't know I was gay, really, but I just knew I liked dudes. Having to shower in that fraternity was super challenging. Like I had to make sure that I got up before everybody else. Like I might catch a look or like I might look, but I had to make sure I showered before everybody else so that I would not out myself.
Wait, because you were worried you'd get an erection or get caught looking or what?
Totally. All those
okay,
things.
okay.
Like totally. You're gonna get a boner, you're gonna get
Gotcha.
caught looking at X. This dude from Bakersfield who was hot. You're gonna get caught and outed, and they're gonna beat the tar out of you.
Wow.
So
Worth it.
it definitely was part of my early addiction, like around booze and around weed. Was like I couldn't understand how to communicate that I was different. I didn't have any role models that were out and gay. And so it was super challenging to just hold all that inside. And the way I combated it was I got really, really high on weed and I drank myself into oblivion. And that's how I dealt with it for a very long time.
Yeah.
In like the late 90s, I moved to San Francisco. I had the really, really awesome idea that I was gonna change my major and become a German major because I was trying. You can't tell people that you're gay, so you stand out in other ways.
So you tell them that you're German?
So I wanted to be a German major because it made me stand out and made me feel different and extra. I honestly have no idea. I did not have any idea what I was gonna do with that at the time. Like I did not want to be a teacher, but like eventually I did have the opportunity to go to Germany and study
that's cool.
for 2 years. So I studied in this little town in this Schwäbischen Alps in the south, outside of Stuttgart. And lo and behold, in Stuttgart, they have an eagle. So straight 27-year-old.
And you still haven't really heard of a gay person?
No.
Wow.
I'm 27. I'm in Germany studying, and the person who cut my hair at the time, Frank, just happened to know that I was struggling with coming out, and so he said, "Hey, you should go to this bar sometime. Like, you should just take the train into Stuttgart and try and go to this really cool bar that I know." Not telling me what it was or what it was all about, just knowing that I was
That you would
struggling.
like it.
Yeah, that I was that I was just gay as fuck.
Yeah.
I needed help. And so I get on the train one day and go to the Eagle, and lo and behold, there's it's pitch black basement night. And so at some point, I got up the courage to go down into the basement where it was pitch black and everybody was buck naked, and that I was 28 and lost my virginity in the Eagle and in the basement of the Eagle in
Your
Stuttgart.
first night there?
Yes. Well, I mean, not first night in Germany, but
no, but your first night at the Eagle? Oh,
yeah.
wow.
It went exactly how you think it would probably go. Like, you have 28 years of pent up.
I was going to say not well.
I mean, it was exciting. And then from then on, I realized that I was not the only person on the planet that was gay. And, you know, the next day I was wearing a ostrich feather, like, faux fur coat and listening to Madonna. It was just like, it was all this gayness inside of me just came out.
I love that, and that's so interesting, and it's relatable to be in the closet, right? I remember
For sure.
But it was horrible. But I at least had a gay reference, and it was just like it was a problem of accepting that that's who I am or I'm gay, but I can't even imagine that to not even know, to not even hear or see of another gay person and just know that you're different, and that must come with such a whirlwind of like insecurities, and it must be really scary.
I would say it's super, super painful. And that's why I think gay men of a certain age, like definitely the ones that are in my age demographic, like over 50, I think a lot of us struggled because we had no role models. A lot of the folks, a generation above us were dying of AIDS at the time. And so we had no real positive role models to kind of lean on or look to, and that I think just delayed our coming out process.
And it's really sad because there is a very clear linkage between people, basically with drug use within the queer community. There's lots of drug use and substance abuse within the queer community, but when you lay all this out, it's just so obvious that that is the result of people suppressing who they are. They don't have role models or somebody to look up to let them know that it's okay. And it's just a shame because I truly believe that if we lived in a perfect world where, like, in that sense, where like there was no stigma around being gay, the substance abuse would not be nearly as prevalent in the queer community. It's really, really sad.
For sure.
Yeah.
How many people do you know that came from small town anywhere, right? And got to the big city, got introduced to drugs or substances of some sort, and then lost control of it, right? What happened for me was after, eventually I had to leave Germany because my student visa ran out, and I came back to San Francisco to finish school. I got a job at a place called the Castro Station, which is, I'm trying to remember, it's changed hands so many times, I don't even know what bar that is now. Like Q Bar, maybe? It's like right in the middle of Castro Street. Anyways, it's like the early 2000s. The early 2000s in San Francisco were super, super magical. It still had a very Art Nouveau kind of feeling to it, but it was still kind of attached to grunge and the alternative music scene. And there were these gigantic warehouse clubs, like gigantic, and they were all over the place. And so I became a bartender. I was like 30. I was in pretty good shape. And so that is like, you're coming out you just came out, you're living your best life,
right?
Essentially, right? Like, and I liken it to this, like, I have said this many, many times, is that San Francisco sometimes can be like a Venus flytrap, right? It has folks from all over the world attracted to it because it's beautiful and it's iconic and it looks like the place you want to be. But if you're not careful, it will eat you alive. It will literally eat you alive. And so I started going to clubs. And I remember it really, really clearly. It was a Friday night. I had just closed the bar. And one of my close friends at the time was a DJ at the bar. And he said, "Hey, we're going to go to the End Up. Do you want to come with us?" And I said, "What's the End Up?" And they said, "Oh, it's a after hours dance club." And I was like, "Okay." So we get in a taxi, go to the End Up, and at the time there was like the End Up had like a porta potty outside the club for people that were waiting in line to go in. Anyways, it was iconic. And we went inside. What to do to go to the restroom is what I thought. I was just gonna pee, but everybody was doing key bumps. And somebody said, "Do you want to bump?" And I was like, trying to act cool, like I knew what that was.
But you weren't even sure if they were talking about Coke or
I
K or whatever.
I literally had no idea. I didn't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
K was not even a thing yet.
Yeah.
Like,
Why are you guys smelling keys?
This is this is like key bumps of crank. We're like, this is like 2000. This is like, no, it's not even 2000. It's probably 2000. You know, like, and so I did a key bump, and you know, like we danced forever, like forever, uninhibited. Like everybody was in it and having like the most magical time. And I was like, I have arrived. In that moment, I knew I had arrived, and I was like, this is the shit. I worked the steps out of a 12-step program. And in many 12-step stories, you hear this little phrase. You hear like, it was fun, and then it became fun with problems, and then eventually it just became problems. Or this version is like, I started every weekend, and then every weekend turned into every day, and then every day turned into all day. And that's kind of how my story went. Like I was 30, about. I immediately started buying dope, like that. Going home that.
Wait, when you say dope, what do you mean?
I mean crystal meth.
Crystal meth. Okay.
Or what at the time was like I think it was. No, I mean like there were at the very very beginning. I think I was buying crank. I think that's what I was buying. That's what the person that was selling me stuff.
And what's crank?
Crank is like a dirtier version of crystal meth.
Oh, I've heard the word crank, but all these terms are kind of ambiguous. And even dope, when I hear dope, I think heroin.
You think
because that's
heroin.
what I called it.
Oh yeah. So
yeah.
that's super important for me to clarify. Yeah. When I say dope, I mean dope of my choice, and I always think
crystal meth.
Immediately it's actually crystal meth and G. But I was buying crank at the beginning, and it started as like, you know, $25 bags. And I think almost immediately it kind of ramped up pretty quickly. I was not on a slow trajectory. It was really rapid. I loved the feeling of being up.
Yeah.
Loved that feeling of being up. I also tended bar and worked at an events company. And so we were always moving and always running. And it was like, it didn't, you know, it felt like the appropriate thing. So it jumped off from right there. And I started using pretty much every weekend. And weekends in like the early 2000s were like Wednesday at 10:15. 10:15 is a big dance club here in San Francisco. So it was Wednesday at 10:15. It was Thursday at 10:15. It was Friday at the End Up. It was Saturday at oh my God, I'm 54. Saturdays at Universe, Sundays at Universe, and Sunday morning for church at the End Up. So we're literally talking about like 5 nights of nonstop, like all night dancing. And that's what we did. There was this whole circuit or subculture of folks that were anti it was kind of like we wore it like a badge. It was like, I don't want a regular job. That it was just at the beginning of the tech boom. And we were like, we don't want to be that. We want to be edgy, and we want to be drug addicts, and we want to do drugs and dance and be gay and do all this stuff. And it felt like for somebody like me, that grew up kind of really kind of like in a conservative, structured, like I did what I was told. I did what folks expected me to do. For me, this feeling of like saying "fuck you" to
like a
society
rebellious
kind of felt good.
Yeah.
And so, along with the drugs, was this kind of rebellion feeling that was super, super awesome.
Yeah.
And quickly thereafter, I was also introduced to GHB. GHB is it is I mean, I kind of liken it to. It's similar to alcohol. It kind of gives you a feeling like that, but it's way more intense.
It's I feel like G is like alcohol, but it's less it's less of like taking away your ability to think and more of a cozy kind of twist to it.
It's super it is super compatible with crystal meth or speed. And I quickly, at the time, we used to buy GHB at GNC, the like supplement store in powder, and make it at home.
Really?
Yeah, you could literally buy it way back in the day.
What were they marketing as?
Growth hormone. Like if people you could
Oh,
use it to
right.
lift.
I've heard of that as a
As a
ancillary
weightlifting-
effect of G.
There you go. Correct.
Yeah.
You know, G it grew pretty quickly. And so we were I was doing it all the time. You know, there were the other things like E and K. I didn't really like K.
Yeah, I didn't
was
really
not
like K that
was
much.
not a super fan of K.
Yeah.
There were many times I was in a K hole that was just
Horrible.
way too long and awful. It felt like an acid trip from when
Yeah.
I was like a younger person in college, and I was like, I'm way too much of a. I'm like I have OCD and I'm a control freak. So, like, like give me something, give me an upper, and I'm all about
You're
it.
unstoppable,
We're
it feels like.
nonstop. I'm a superhuman.
Mm.
But you put me in a K-hole where I have no control over what's happening or how I get out of it. I am super unhappy.
That's how I feel. Yeah.
K was not an issue. Don't get me wrong. Again, a garbage can. So if the only thing available to me at the time would have been K, I would have gladly put myself into a K-hole to avoid, like, I don't know what.
The
Like,
insanity of addiction.
the insanity of it. Like, the absolute insanity of it. So I became a daily user. It was crystal meth and it was G for a very long time. When did the towers come down? 2001?
Yep.
When the towers came down in 2001, I was managing an events company at Metreon, and it was a big events company. All I did was tech dinners for like very fancy people. And I was cracked out of my mind. Like, when I say cracked out of my mind, I was high on crystal meth most of the time. But behind the scenes, you can totally do that, right? Like, nobody knew.
Right.
My boss thought I was amazing.
Right.
And when the towers came down, and the whole industry, like the service industry, was basically wiped out in San Francisco. No one was traveling, no one was throwing parties, and we were all unemployed. I had the brilliant idea at that time to start selling drugs.
At about what age?
I mean, I guess I was like probably 35.
Okay.
34, something like that. Yeah. So I started selling drugs, and at the beginning, it was like my friend was like, "Oh, here, if you're gonna get high every day, like you should at least be able to pay for your supply." And that having had some business classes in college, that seemed like a reasonable explanation. Like, I thought that was like, oh yeah, I should probably just sell enough to pay for my own.
Right.
That's just not the way it plays out.
It never plays out that way.
It does not play out that way. My life, when I started selling drugs, almost immediately became Breaking Bad with show tunes. Like,
that still cracks me up.
there were guns, and there were people robbing each other, and there was getting robbed at gunpoint, and there were stolen cars, and people getting held hostage in hotel rooms, and all the while, everybody is still going to the club every night and dancing their asses off.
Wait, I have a quick question. So when did you, what age would you say were you first introduced to crystal meth?
Like 30.
So this was about 5 years in, and were you using daily?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
For 5 years, about.
roughly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I used for 12 years total. I was a daily user for a decade.
Yeah. Wow.
I run a nonprofit now and have for a decade that helps people get sober when they decide to change their relationship with substances. There are lots of folks that I see that come in that have a very quick burn. Like they get introduced to substances, crystal meth, heroin, you name it, and inside a year and a half or two, they are tapped out and done and in rehab. I wish that would have been my situation.
Right.
I wish that would have. I kind of wish that's the way it would have played out. It wasn't like that for me. I was able to manage. I mean, if you're not using your college degree and you're slinging dope, are you really managing? I don't know, but for whatever reason, I was able to keep it going for a long time. So, the thing happens when you start selling drugs, like you run the risk of being arrested. So I, for a while it was kind of fun. Again, there was that kind of like
Rebellious.
like, ooh, I'm decked out in head to toe Adidas. It's like the early 2000s. We're in uniformed Adidas thinking we're Beastie Boys or something. I don't even know. Hashtag I had a big crush on the Beastie Boys. The early Beastie Boys were fine. Fine. Yeah, we're like decked out in Adidas and we're like running dope all over town. And then one day I got popped, and got arrested. And then
For possession or
possession with the intent to distribute. So at this point, it was like, it was kind of small potatoes.
Yeah.
I think I got arrested with like an 8-ball.
You use the term 8-ball for crystal meth?
Oh, yeah.
I've never heard it outside of coke.
Oh, yeah.
I feel
same, like cocaine and crystal meth, same measurement scale. So dime bags, quarters,
it's
half
not like
grams,
a different billiard.
a gram, the 16th, that's that crystal meth, same category of numbers. So I think I had an 8-ball on me. They gave me, it was San Mateo County though, which, hey, anybody watching the podcast, do not get arrested in San Mateo County. Just a public service announcement.
Don't get arrested anywhere.
Don't get arrested anywhere, but definitely don't get arrested in San Mateo County. They are brutal.
Oh, yeah. I know those places.
Yeah. And so I, did 60 days. When you're like, I did not have a relationship with my family at the time at all. So I certainly wasn't calling them to tell them like, yo, I'm in jail. was not going to happen.
Yeah.
I did some time in jail. I got out and immediately got high. I remember being like getting out of jail and the only thing I could think of was getting high. And I was like, and I remember at the time thinking like, oh, wow, there's something that's not awesome. Like I have nowhere to go. Lost my apartment during getting raided, like getting arrested. So nowhere to go. And literally the first thing I wanted to do when I got out was get high.
Yeah, that's very relatable.
And then I think that was kind of like the significant shift where pretty much everything after that was dark. Like there wasn't, if I'm brutally honest with myself, there was no fun after that. Like it just got really, really rough. There was like, I also started dealing more, like bigger amounts. At the time, I remember thinking like, oh, well, I'm a felon. So it's
less to lose, you mean?
There's no, like, I didn't know anybody that had ever been, no one I ever knew growing up had been arrested. Like, I'm certainly not calling my mom or my sisters to say, hey, I was arrested for, like
Yeah.
trafficking narcotics. So, yeah, I kind of figured, oh, well, this is what we're doing. Like, this is what we're doing. So if we're going to do this,
Yeah, go hard or go home.
if we're going to sell drugs, if we're going to be a drug dealer, then we're going to go big.
Mm.
So I connected myself with some bikers that had copious amounts of dope, and I started going big.
Mm.
And the bigger you go, the more risk that's involved in that process.
Mhm.
So
Totally.
you get rolled and beat up. That's a pretty common occurrence. I was dealing pounds of dope, and it's super, super dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Wait, why somebody wants to beat you up because you're competition or to steal your drugs or to steal your drugs? Okay.
Yeah. This happens all the time. Is like somebody calls you and says, "Oh, I have a buyer for stuff. Like, let me send them over," and that person is setting you up, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're not there to buy your dope. They're just there to open the door so 3 other guys can come in and roll you.
Mm-hmm.
So, that kind of stuff.
That's scary.
It's super scary.
Yeah.
It's super scary. It happens all the time. But it doesn't make at the time you don't make the connection. You're like, what am I doing?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're literally trying to survive. At that point, at that point I was so deep in it. I had absconded from probation, so I had a warrant because I couldn't show up, and you're just trying to survive.
Yeah.
It's like then literally, in sobriety we talk about like can I just make it one more day? Like just one more day. Like out there in the throes of addiction, it really was about surviving to the next day.
Yeah. Because
nobody wanted to come down ever. So, I became an IV drug user. When you're at the end, I think you're open to all the options.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean at the end?
I didn't really think I was going to come back from my addiction. I figured I was probably going to die or wind up in prison.
Yeah.
And so when you're in that place, I think some of the reservations you had, or some of the boundaries, lines in the sand, whatever you want to call it, the things you had said to yourself, I think everything becomes an option.
Yeah.
And so one day, the right person at the right time, when I was like, super, super sad or really in it, said, "Hey, do you want me to hit you up? Or do you want to try this?" And I said yes. And then, just like it was in the beginning, it was an immediate, like, it was the only thing I wanted to do. And once you become a daily IV drug user, the world becomes so painfully small.
Yeah.
Was that part of your story?
Yeah, that was part of my story as well. Yeah, daily IV use.
So you remember what that was like. You're like 6 hours ahead. Like, how am I gonna? I need to get this to get to here. And
you mean like only 6 hours?
Yeah,
like you're only concerned.
I'm only concerned about
like
how I'm only concerned about getting high and what the next 5 or 6 hours.
Getting high, not getting in trouble. That's basically
literally
food, money, car,
all of it.
Gas for your car. That's it.
Yeah, like we didn't have to drive, thank God.
Oh,
yeah. Because I'm sure I would have been arrested like 60 more, like a ton more times. The amount of times that I drove without a license and an outstanding bench warrant and did not get picked up with like large amounts of dope on me is cuckoo. When I think back on the shit that I did, I am bewildered that I'm still here. Bewildered at like that I'm just literally sitting in the chair. So, a couple more arrests. each time progressively worse. Like the universe decides to throw a little stuff at me to really make me think about like where I am. And I just said, all I could say was fuck it. I didn't care about myself. I didn't feel like there was anything to really kind of like, to kind of, there was a way out. I had no friends that had like navigated out of this lifestyle that we were all living in. It was no longer edgy and cool. It was just painfully sad.
Painful, yeah, and sad, yeah.
Painfully sad. And so, and people started getting sick, and it was horrific. So, at some point, I got arrested one more time with a large amount of dope.
And this was your second or third arrest?
This was my third arrest. This time, because I had priors, I had 2 priors for intent, and the amount that I got caught with, I was facing mandatory minimums for state prison here.
Do you know what those minimums were?
It was going to be probably 5 years.
Yeah. Wow.
So I am at 850 Bryant. I'm, I've kind of resolved myself that you're going to going to prison.
Yeah.
You're not. There's not really any way out from this. You don't have any money. You can't afford an attorney. No one is going to represent you, and you have a proven track record of not being able to do what the court asks you to do, like simple stuff. So they're gonna let you have it.
Right.
So they call you to go to court. You're shackled. You're with a bunch of people. I walk up to the judge, and the judge says, you're free to go. Your case is dismissed.
What?
Your case is dismissed. And I was sitting there, I didn't really, I just basically didn't hear. I don't think I heard it. And then he kind of got like irritated that I was like not overjoyed. Or not overjoyed at the fact that my case had just been dismissed.
But you were just processing.
I was just processing.
Not ungrateful.
Not ungrateful. And he said, your case is dismissed. Go to that door over there. So I was like, all right, well, maybe it's a boo-boo, but maybe it's a mistake, but I'm definitely gonna take it. I'm gonna walk. So they let me out, and at the time, I was like, I definitely thought, oh, I need to get high. Like, I definitely need to get high.
Right.
And I went to a friend's house, and I think it was later that day, I found out that my case, along with, I don't know, maybe 90 or 100 other cases, had been thrown out because someone at the San Francisco Police Department that worked in the evidence locker was selling dope out of the locker, was selling dope.
But what does that have to do with your case?
My case was one of them. And so the DA made the decision that because they didn't know which amount, the amount was either real or not real because somebody had been picking and choosing drugs out of the evidence locker, they threw out a whole trove of cases.
Wow. Wait, so I have a question though, but so you found that out later, but in the court date that day, there was no indication of it. There was no information given. You just were dismissed?
Dismissed. Case dismissed.
That's wild. What a lucky
So, and at the time, the district attorney for San Francisco was Kamala Harris.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, I would love to say that I immediately got sober, and my life since that moment has been an example of turning it around.
Well, we're gonna edit it, so that's where this ends.
Okay, that's where it ends.
Thank you for being on the show.
It took a little bit longer, but I used that moment and made the decision that I would stop selling drugs. So that was the moment.
Because when you realize what happened?
Yes.
Really?
I was like,
That's interesting.
If I stop selling drugs right now, I will not go to prison.
Was this like
avoid it all.
Was this like a spiritual thing, or just like a not pressing your luck kind of thing?
You know, maybe it was a moment of clarity. Like, folks talk about spiritual moments, like when they decided to turn it all around. I think that was like the first nudge that I recognized. The universe had been sending signals like, dude, get it together. You are a train wreck. Pull it together. Like, you've been afforded privilege, like opportunity, and you're just squandering it.
Yeah.
And you're just being an asshole, like, if we're just perfectly honest. And so this was the first time that I kind of like, I recognized it and said, oh, you know what? Like, just stop selling drugs. Stop doing illegal shit. And maybe, just maybe, you can turn this around.
Because let's face it, if you kept selling drugs for the rest of your life, it's just a matter of when you get arrested again.
Yeah, it's 100%. You're going to go to jail.
And then all that was a waste, which is the miracle. It was a waste.
100% miracle. Yeah. So I stopped selling drugs, and it got pretty rough. Like, a 2-time felon at that time with like no work history. You're not going to put like, I've been slinging dope for a decade or so on a resume. Right. So I had a friend that I had sold drugs with for a pretty good amount of time. He had all of a sudden fallen off the radar. And I was living in the Castro, and lo and behold, I saw him one day, and he, was chipper and smiling and had this energy about him that I had not seen. And I asked him what was up, and he said, "Oh, I'm getting sober. I stopped using." And I was like, "Is that possible? Like, can you do that?"
Right, nobody told me you could do that.
It's like 2000. It's like 2011, right? Like, I had not seen anybody do that.
Right.
Like, if people disappeared,
you just found out what a gay person is.
It took me a while. Like, I'm like slow on the uptake. Like, up till 2010 or 11, like, if people disappeared from the scene, it meant they either died or they were in prison.
Right.
That's like literally those were the only two.
I mean, ultimately, those are the only two options.
Those are the only two
outside of sobriety.
Because we were not hanging around sober folks. Like, that was just, we only operated from like midnight till 5 in the morning. Only during darkness. Only in the cover of darkness were we out and about. My friend said, like, I'm doing this thing. I went to rehab, or I'm going to rehab, and I'm trying to change my life. And I was like, huh. And my apartment at the time was on 18th Street, right at church. And like, I used to see him come around the corner, kind of bebopping along, like all happy. And I would sit on the porch as I was, just like chain smoking probably at the time. And I was like, huh, like, you can actually, it was a seed, like something had been planted.
Yeah, I get that.
And it was like the first time where I maybe had, like, I was sober and curious. I was curious about sobriety.
Yeah.
Like,
Curious.
I didn't know what it meant or what it was, but I was definitely curious. And I had just enough willingness to not start selling drugs again. Eventually, took about a year, I think. It took about a year. My friend got sober. He started going to this place called the Castro Country Club, which is at,
maybe you've heard of it,
on 18th Street between Castro and Hartford. More to come on that in a minute. he started going to this like sober space and hanging out with all these people that were like giddy and having a good time and like had managed to stop using crystal meth. Like I was like, what is that? How? Like mind-boggling.
Right. What an idea.
Like if you're a daily user,
Yeah.
like especially when you get to the point where you're a daily user and you are like
Intravenously.
you're an IV drug user, the idea around stopping that is very difficult, I think, for folks to comprehend. When you're just trying to manage staying housed, whatever that looks like when you're a daily IV drug user, you know, with clean needles and like proper supply, it is super, super challenging and hard.
Because even just going a day is
Just
like
going a day.
Yeah.
Like just figuring out where you're going to get clean rigs from, like is like sometimes super challenging. Like there was a time where we couldn't get them anywhere but the needle exchange. You know, like you couldn't go to Walgreens and buy clean rigs. You know, it was Anyways, so about a year later, I had a moment where I walked to the end of a pier, Pier 23 here in the city, and decided I was just going to drown myself. Like I didn't want to go to prison. I didn't want to deal anymore. I didn't want to get high, but I had not figured out, like I hadn't made the connection that I, Billy, could actually change my life. I didn't believe it.
Right.
So I thought I would my plan was to, tie a motorcycle chain around my ankle and throw it over one of those big diesel tires on the pier and roll it into the water and just drown myself. And there were a series of events that happened that day that just like, they are 100%, I think the universe was looking out for me. And that's not the way the day ended. The day ended by me going to that friend's house in tears and begging him for help. And I honestly did not know what help was going to look like at that point, but I had just enough willingness to do something different. I mean, it saved my life. So he got me into a place called Acceptance Place, which is a 90-day gay rehab. At the time they only served like queer men, so it felt like the right place to be. And I was 42 when I went into rehab. 42 when I went into rehab at Acceptance Place. At the time, I definitely did not think that I was going to get sober. I remember...
You just knew you needed help.
I just knew that I needed help, whatever help is. Like I went to rehab with I was wearing a pair of Dickies. I had a pair of Dickies, a T-shirt, and a backpack. Like, you know what a backpack looks like for somebody who's like a daily user. There's like old cigarette packs, a bunch of nonsense, and there was probably lube in there. Who knows?
Yeah.
Like that's literally like the backpack.
Wait, that's what my backpack looks like now. Hey.
And so it was, you roll up there with literally nothing. It's heartbreaking when I think about it now. Like, it's super heartbreaking. That moment of day one rehab is both euphoric in a good way and just heartbreaking when I think about it, because I was so broken. I was 42. I was a daily IV drug user, and I was shooting probably at least a 16th of dope a day.
Wow.
And swilling it back with 3 ounces of G on an average day. I'm sure there were times when I drank upwards of 5 ounces of G a day.
Wow. That kind of grosses me out.
It's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
And had been doing that forever. Like forever.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to do that if you hadn't been.
Forever. But there was a moment, I think, on day one in rehab where I, for whatever reason, said, you know what? I'm just going to gonna do whatever the fuck they asked me to do here. So I'm gonna do whatever they asked me to do. I'm not gonna push back, and we'll see what happens after 90 days. I think I had some like really deep-seated internalized homophobia about being gay and the shame around all of that. And somebody decided on like the second week I was in rehab, they took me to the San Francisco AIDS Foundation, which at the time had really been at the forefront of like substance use management programs for folks that were trying to figure it out, but did not know where they wanted to end, right? Or where they wanted to land, or what they wanted to call it. They just like, it was recovery generally. And I wound up at this thing called PROP, Positive Reinforcement Opportunity Project, which is short for a program where they encourage you to have a clean test, meaning no dope in your system, each week for 90 days. And at the end, they would give you a cash something, a gift card. It just seems so radical and weird for me to have a program say, you are worthy enough, you are important enough to us that we are going to support you in these 90 days. All you have to do is show up for yourself and not use, and we will give you money at the end.
Yeah.
And that concept was completely radical for me. And I kind of latched onto it. And so
That's great that it had that effect.
it totally had a really good effect. And it also introduced me to my first process group. I was at they call it Stonewall. I had a process group that I was a part of 3 days a week. It was like an hour and a half, 2 hours maybe.
Wait, sorry, they call what Stonewall? Because that, when I think of Stonewall,
You think of Stonewall, the
you're
Stonewall
talking
Inn.
about something else.
Yeah, that's it. This
Oh,
is like
okay.
their program
Gotcha.
of counseling is called
Got it.
the Stonewall Project.
Okay. Yeah.
And so it was the first time that I had ever had an opportunity to do talk therapy. So I was, in my 40s, and all of a sudden I was able to talk about, the shame I felt about being gay and the pain of hiding it for so long, the circumstances around the way I was brought up, the family, my internal family dynamics. Like, I'd never talked about any of that with anybody ever. It was all in my head.
Right.
And so the opportunity to kind of unpack that over the course of a year, and I cried a lot.
Yeah.
Like a lot in those process groups. At the end of like going to Stonewall 3 days a week, and doing prop and rehab, I like managed to string together a year without using.
Wow.
And it's important for me to say, like, I strung together a year without using, because I don't think I was necessarily, I didn't label myself sober at the time. I was still on this trajectory where I thought I was just not going to use crystal meth and not going to do GHB. But I still kind of left possibly drinking on the table.
But at the time, no. But just
But at the
maybe
time,
later?
Maybe later.
Right.
But at the time, no. And I was going to 12-step meetings also as part of that first year. Once you get to like that one, I remember having like a 1-year celebration on the back deck of the Castro Country Club, and being in utter disbelief that I had managed to not use drugs for an entire year. It was mind-boggling to me. And then once I realized that I could maybe do something different, like everything opened up to me. Like my first job out of rehab was I worked for Steven Scarborough at Hot House Studios. Steven gave me a job after I finished Stonewall, or right in the middle of it, and said, as long as you stay sober and show up for yourself. You can have this PA job at Hot House. He literally made space for me and gave me this position to kind of help me stay on the trajectory of sobriety. I'm forever grateful for him. And then my whole world opened up. I realized that, hey, I'm sober, so maybe I can get a job. I started volunteering at the Castro Country Club.
Doing
I was a barista. So the country club has like a whole host of services that we provide. So I am the executive director. It has been my job for a decade. Super amazing to say that. Like I've had that job for a decade. They have not fired me. Crazy.
That's good. I wonder, it's probably because you're sober.
Super crazy. But my second year in sobriety, they had a position at the country club open up for a part-time cafe manager. And all those years of tending bar and events management, like 2 days a week, helping order stuff for a cafe was a no-brainer. It was super, super easy. Then the manager of the club at the time decided to move on to other things, and they needed somebody to step in and do that job. And, I was like 16 months sober, maybe. I think I was like 16 months sober. And they said, "Do you want to do this job?" And they said, "We'll pay you X amount an hour for 40 hours a week, and we'll see how this plays out." And it has turned into the most amazing thing I could have ever imagined.
That's great.
Like a decade later, I've built this really big, full life all around my sobriety, and that was not the intention.
Right. I love that. I could just feel it in your energy and your passion talking about it.
It is not, like I am a firm believer in the idea that there are many paths to recovery.
Yeah. I feel like I've said that maybe on every single episode so far.
There are many paths. Recovery does not mean sobriety.
Right.
They are not
Totally.
linear, right? And sobriety does not mean abstinence from all substances. Like if you are shooting heroin every day or you're shooting fentanyl every day and you can figure out a way to stop shooting fentanyl every day and you still want to drink, bravo. I am 100% I will cheer you on all day long, every day.
I agree with that, and that was actually my experience. When I was on heroin, and I got off of heroin at like 20, 21, and then I was sober, no alcohol or weed or anything for quite a number of years. But then I was in my mid-20s working in the restaurant industry, and I never had a problem with alcohol. We'd all go out and like sometimes I'd have a beer. I'd have a beer with dinner, or I'd have a beer after work. And I didn't like to get drunk, and it was just kind of interesting. And people would be like concerned, like, "Oh, are you sober?" I mean, technically no, because I'm having a beer. But it wasn't a problem for me. The problem was heroin.
I mean, see, and so in that regard, I would push back. Like you can define. I think it is perfectly okay for each individual person to define sobriety for themselves.
Yeah.
Like if you, Drew, want to say my sobriety looks like this, I am not putting a needle in my arm, shooting heroin. That's what sober looks like for me.
Yeah.
And if I want to have a beer, if I have a beer every once in a while, I'm gonna do that. And please don't look at me with like, don't try and shame me or get concerned.
Right.
When I've told you what my definition of sobriety looks like.
I agree
There's
with that.
nothing worse than somebody coming in like it's super, super challenging for folks that are trying to get off opioids. Like, and there's nothing worse than having an old timer in AA or an old timer in any A. Look at the newcomer coming off a substance that they don't particularly agree with and giving them the cold shoulder. There's nothing that pisses me off.
Yeah.
And so I think it's very fluid. Like the definition of sobriety for everybody looks completely different.
Yeah, definitely.
I would say abstinence for me is like just one spot on the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
So my sobriety looks like I think I know that it needs to be abstinence because I was a blackout drinker long before I was a daily user, long before I was putting a needle in my arm all day. And so it's just easier for me.
Yeah.
In that.
It is the most straightforward solution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so now my life is like, I run a nonprofit that helps people get sober. We are a community center that is open every day, early in the morning, late at night. We have a cafe where we provide workforce development training for folks who, like myself, had no job experience when they decided to change their life. We have community events that support like community arts that for folks that really need an outlet to express themselves. We have workforce development training. We get folks connected with like resumes and online courses, and then we just support. We really support them with like social support. Like lots of folks just need community, and we also have a podcast.
Oh, that's amazing. What's it called?
At the CCC.
Oh.
You may have to. I'm most likely gonna ping you to try and get on the podcast.
Oh, I would love that. That'd be awesome.
And we do all this so folks that come in feel like they have what they need. And like the biggest part of it is like just meeting folks where they are and trying to give them the tools where they feel empowered to kind of change their lives for themselves.
Well, that is an incredible story. I really appreciate you sharing. What advice would you give to anybody that is just day one sober?
Oh, day one sober. Day one sober is, chain smoke if you need to. I did it for a number of years when I was getting sober. It was super, super helpful. The best advice is to, one, give yourself a little bit of grace. Try, because I still am super hard on myself. Try not to be super hard on yourself. Find a tribe of folks who believe in you and support your choices and are there even when you have a slip, whatever you define that as, and are going to support you through that and not shame you. That's the most important part of the equation.
Yeah.
Like, find a group that supports you and just keep showing up.
Yeah, that's huge for sure.
Yeah.
Well, again, I really appreciate you being here today, sharing your story. Where can people find you, and do you have anything else to plug?
Well, I'm 54, so I'm really not active on TikTok.
What's your OnlyFans?
I barely know how to use it. I barely know how to use it. Billy Lemon SF on Instagram and Billy Lemon Walters on Facebook. If you're like old timey like myself. And you can always go to castrocountryclub.org or info@castrocountryclub.org. One other plug, if you're a bike rider, if you ride bikes, like AIDS Life Cycle maybe, we are doing a recovery ride next year.
I heard about that. I think maybe Roma mentioned that. That's awesome.
In 2026. And so if you ride bikes and are sober or want to ride bikes and find yourself in part of the sober community, you can go to castrocountryclub.org and click on Recovery Ride and get more info. It's going to be super, super rad.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Well, that's it for this episode of Stop the Ride. I want to thank Billy for sharing his story today and for being on my podcast. Join me next Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific, where I chat with adult content creator Andrew Delta about why he decided to put down the alcohol and the cocaine. You can find all of our episodes plus some additional content at stoptheridepodcast.com, and make sure to follow or subscribe on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook. If you enjoyed the show, please share with a friend or leave a review wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time on Stop the Ride.
This podcast is brought to you by Liberty Lane Films, truly independent.